November 8th, 1952, 11:47 p.m. The poker game was in the basement of Small's Paradise on 13th Fifth Street and 7th Avenue. The basement wasn't fancy. Concrete floor, exposed pipes running along the ceiling, a single round table in the center, lit by a hanging bulb, but this was where Harlem's serious players came. 5 men sat around the table. Smoke from cigars and cigarettes hung thick in the air. 3 empty whiskey bottles sat on a nearby shelf. 2 more were half full on the table. The pot in the center was massive. Stacks of bills, chips representing thousands, $40,000 total. The biggest game Small's Paradise had seen in months. Bumpy Johnson sat in the north position. He was wearing a gray suit, white shirt, burgundy tie. His fedora sat on the table beside his chips. He'd been playing for 4 hours, and he'd been winning consistently, methodically. Across from him sat Vincent, Vinny Cards, Costello, a soldier in the Genovese crime family, mid-30s, slicked back hair, gold rings on 3 fingers. Vinny was known in New York as one of the best poker players in the mob. He'd won $100,000 from Carlo Gambino's crew last year. He never lost, until tonight. Vinny had started the game with $25,000. He was now down to $3,000. He'd lost hand after hand to Bumpy, and he was getting frustrated. The other 3 players were local Harlem businessmen, policy bankers, numbers runners, men who could afford to lose $5,000 or $10,000 without blinking. The current hand was 5-card draw. Bumpy had dealt. Each player had received 5 cards. Bumpy looked at his cards. 3 kings, king of spades, king of hearts, king of diamonds, plus a 7 and a 4, strong hand. He'd already bet $5,000 before the draw. 2 players had folded. Now it was just Bumpy, Vinny, and one other player named Marcus. Cards? Bumpy asked. Marcus took 2. Bumpy took 2, discarding the 7 and 4. Vinny took 1 card. Bumpy looked at his new cards, a king of clubs and an 8. 4 kings. Best possible hand in this scenario. Marcus checked. Bumpy bet another $5,000. Vinny hesitated, looked at his cards, looked at the pot, looked at Bumpy. Raise another $5,000. Marcus folded. Too rich for me. Now it was just Bumpy and Vinny. $40,000 in the pot. 1 card left to play. Bumpy called the raise. Let's see what you got, Vinny. Vinny laid down his cards. Full house. Queens over jacks. Strong hand. In most games that would win, but not tonight. Bumpy laid down his 4 kings. Vinny stared at the cards. His face went red. His jaw clenched. 4 kings, Bumpy said calmly. He reached forward to collect the pot. That's when Vinny exploded. He slammed his hands on the table. You're cheating. The room went silent. The other 3 players froze. One of them slowly pushed his chair back, away from the table, away from the confrontation. Everyone in Harlem knew what happened when you accused Bumpy Johnson of cheating. Bumpy's hand stopped halfway to the pot. He looked up at Vinny. His face was completely calm. No anger, no surprise, just that cold, empty stare. What did you say? I said you're cheating. Vinny repeated. His voice was loud, aggressive. He was either drunk or stupid, probably both. Nobody wins that many hands in a row without cheating. 4 kings. Really? What are the odds of that? The odds are exactly what they are, Bumpy said quietly. I got lucky. You got unlucky. That's poker. Bullshit. You've been dealing from the bottom all night. I've been watching. The accusation hung in the air like poison gas. Bumpy set his cards down. Very slowly, very deliberately. Then he reached into his jacket. Every person in the room knew what was coming. Bumpy pulled out his Colt .45. The same gun he'd been carrying since 1937, the one that had put bullets in more men than anyone could count. He stood up, walked around the table. His footsteps echoed on the concrete floor. Vinny's bravado evaporated. He tried to stand, but Bumpy was already behind him. Bumpy pressed the barrel of the Bumpy 45 against the back of Vinny's skull. "Sit down." Vinny sat. Bumpy kept the gun pressed against Vinny's head. "Pick up your cards." "What?" "I said pick up your cards. We're going to finish this hand properly. With you sitting here. With my gun to your head. And if you still think I'm cheating after I beat you fair and square, we can discuss it. But first we finish the hand." Vinny's hands were shaking so badly he could barely grip the cards. He picked them up. Full house. Queens over jacks. A hand that should have won. But it didn't matter now. The hand was over. Bumpy had 4 kings. He'd won. "Look at your cards," Vinny, Bumpy said quietly. "Full house. That's a great hand. Most nights that hand wins. But not tonight. Tonight. I had 4 kings. Do you understand what 4 kings means?" Vinny nodded. His whole body was shaking. "It means I won, fair and square. No cheating, just luck. The same luck that's been with me all night." Bumpy pressed the gun harder against Vinny's skull. "Now, I could kill you right now, put a bullet through your head, make it look like you went crazy, accused me of cheating, and I defended myself. 3 witnesses would back me up. The police wouldn't even investigate." One of the other players nodded silently. "Absolutely. He'd back up whatever story Bumpy told. But I'm not going to kill you," Bumpy continued, "because I want you to sit here for a few more minutes and think about what you just did. You accused me of cheating. In front of witnesses, in my city, in a game I was hosting." Bumpy walked around the table. Still holding the gun, he collected the $40,000 from the pot, slowly, 1 stack at a time, put it all in his leather briefcase. The entire time Vinny sat frozen. The gun was no longer pressed to his head, but Bumpy still held it, casually, like he was holding a drink. When all the money was in the briefcase, Bumpy snapped it shut, locked it, set it on the floor beside him. Then he looked at Vinny, really looked at him. For the first time since the confrontation started. "Let me tell you something about poker, Vinny. It's not about the cards. It's about reading people. About knowing when someone's bluffing. When they're scared, when they're desperate." Bumpy gestured at Vinny with the gun. Not pointing it at him. Just gesturing. "I've been reading you all night. You're a good player. But you're predictable. You bet big when you have a strong hand. You fold quick when you're weak. And when you're losing, you get angry, sloppy." He paused. "That's why I beat you. Not because I cheated. Because I'm better." Vinny said nothing. His face was pale. Sweat dripped down his temples. "Now," Bumpy said, his voice dropping even lower. "Do you still think I was cheating?" The question hung in the air. Every person in that basement waited for Vinny's answer, because his answer would determine whether he walked out alive. Vinny swallowed hard. His throat clicked. No, Bumpy. I was wrong. I apologize. I was frustrated. I'd been losing all night and I wasn't thinking clearly. I'm sorry." Bumpy studied his face for a long moment, looking for any hint of insincerity. Any trace of disrespect. He found none. Just fear. "Apology accepted," Bumpy said. He holstered his gun, tucked it back inside his jacket. "But there's still a consequence." Vinny's eyes went wide. "What consequence?" "You're banned from every card game in Harlem for 6 months. Every poker table. Every dice game. Every gambling house from 11th Street to 55th Street. You don't play. You don't watch. You don't even walk past a card table. Understand?" Yes, I understand. And you're going to leave Small's Paradise right now." You're going to walk out that door, get in your car, drive back to Little Italy, and you're going to tell your boss, Vito Genovese, exactly what happened here tonight. You're going to tell him you accused Bumpy Johnson of cheating, and you're going to tell him what I said, that if he has a problem with how I run my card games, he can come talk to me himself. Can you remember all that? Yes. Good. Now get out. Vinny stood up. His legs were shaking. He walked toward the stairs. Every step felt like walking through mud. When he reached the stairs, he looked back once. Bumpy was sitting down again, lighting a cigar, like nothing had happened. Vinny climbed the stairs, left Small's Paradise, got in his car, drove back to Little Italy. He never played cards in Harlem again. The three other players who'd been at the table that night told the story over and over. How Bumpy Johnson was accused of cheating. How he put a gun to Vinny Costello's head. How he made Vinny sit through the rest of the hand. How he collected his winnings calmly. How he banned Vinny without raising his voice. The story spread through Harlem, then through Brooklyn, then through all 5 boroughs. Bumpy Johnson doesn't just win at cards, he wins at everything. And if you accuse him of cheating, you better be ready to sit at that table with a gun to your head and finish what you started. Vinny Cards Costello died in 1987. Heart attack. He was 71 years old. At his funeral, his nephew asked about a story he'd heard. Uncle Vinny, did Bumpy Johnson really put a gun to your head during a poker game? Vinny had smiled. Sad. Tired. Yeah, he did. And you know what? He wasn't cheating. I was just a sore loser. And I learned that night that some men you don't accuse, ever. No matter how suspicious it looks. Why not? Because they'll make you finish the hand anyway. And then you realize you were wrong the whole time.